No, stop. My shout cracked across the 97-degree Texas morning like a rifle shot, but the blade had already bitten. The hose in my fist sagged, the final drops slapping the red dirt and vanishing before they could cool my boots. Across the fence line, Helen Whitaker leaned against the HOA flatbed, yellow notice flapping in her manicured fingers, lips curled in a victory smile that made my stomach knot. Mr. Caldwell, she called, voice syrupy with triumph. You can't dodge the association forever. They had just severed my only water line, clean, surgical, professional, because I refused to hand over $8,500 a year to a club I never joined. I never dreamed a neighborhood queen would stoop to vandalism. But Helen didn't know the one detail that would haunt her. The master valve feeding her entire empire. Infinity pool, 18-hole golf course, 47 plush guest suites, rested 30 feet inside my surveyed boundary. Sometimes a desert blooms from a single twist of iron. It began like every brutal July dawn on the outskirts of Austin. Heat shimmered off the caliche before 8 o'clock, the kind that turns breath to steam and makes the horizon dance. I was coaxing life from raised cedar beds I'd babied for 90 days. Brandywine tomatoes sagging with fruit, serranos glowing like Christmas lights. The hose sang steady, then coughed, then died. I checked the utility room shut off, wide open. Gauge needle pinned at 0. 30 feet from the porch the white PVC lay in two perfect halves, edges sharp enough to shave with. A rock pinned a yellow sheet. Violation of Covenant 7.3, water service suspended. Contact board. I folded it slow, the paper crackling like dry leaves, and looked east. 400 yards away the Sunset Ridge retreat glittered, fountains dancing, sprinklers painting emerald rainbows, guests in linen sipping $300 mimosa brunches. Untouchable. 3 weeks earlier the first certified letter arrived, thick cream envelope, gold EMB, 31 Aus seal. Annual assessment, $8,500. I laughed, then called David Lawson, the attorney who'd walked me through closing 8 years ago. Robert, he'd said, tapping the survey, your 2.5 acres were subdivided out before the covenants were recorded. Ironclad. No HOA. I mailed copies of deed, plat, and David's letter. A week later came demand number 2, tone sharper. I responded again. Then the final notice, Helen's looping signature. Comply or face enforcement action. I dialed the board number printed in bold. 6 rings, voicemail. This is Robert Caldwell, Lot 19A, attempting to resolve what I believe is an error. Crickets. Now my tomatoes would crisp by noon, and the woman 400 yards away was smiling. Anger flashed hot, then iced over. 30 years mapping aquifers for the state had taught me pressure, flow, and the quiet tyranny of infrastructure. It had also taught me to listen when a seller mentions, almost offhand, oh, there's an old valve box out by the mesquite. Been there since the developer went bust in '98. I'd nodded, never opened it. Until today. By noon I'd struck out 3 times. Rick the plumber, who'd fixed my well pump twice, sighed over the phone. Rob, I'd come in a heartbeat, but Sunset Ridge is 70% of my commercial work. Helen finds out, I'm done. Click. Austin Water Utility transferred me twice, then delivered the bureaucratic kiss-off. Downstream of the master meter is private domain, sir. Call your provider. David Lawson's baritone carried the weight of too many lost causes. You're right on paper, but they own the pipe. Sue for injunctive relief. 2, maybe 3 years if it doesn't settle. That afternoon a fleet of HOA pickups cruised the loop, stapling fresh yellow posters to every mailbox, fence post, and stop sign for half a mile. Emergency alert. Resident refusal to comply with water management protocols threatens system integrity. Report concerns to board. By dusk my phone glowed with unknown numbers. Selfish bastard, one hissed. You're tanking our values, another spat. Not one asked for my side. I sat on the porch as the temperature finally slipped below 90, cicadas screaming like sirens, and understood. Helen Whitaker wasn't collecting dues. She was waging war. Sunrise the next day found me in boots and a sweat-soaked cap, notebook in hand, tracing every foot of buried pipe. 3 days I walked the grid, probing rod, tape measure, GPS. Day 1 uncovered a junction feeding the golf course. Day 2 revealed the residential manifold. Day 3 I knelt in the northwest corner, scraped away cactus and goat heads, and lifted a concrete lid no one had touched in decades. Inside, a 6-inch cast iron wheel, 1 leg west to my meter, 1 leg east to the empire. The master valve. My valve. I called Frank Russell, 62, semi-retired, still the best hydrologist I ever hired. He rolled up in a '98 Ford rattling like a maraca, knelt in the dust, and let out a low whistle. Close this, Rob, and the whole kingdom goes Bedouin. Legally? I'm no lawyer, but dirt is dirt. County clerk next. For hours in a basement that smelled of mildew and old money, I pulled every plat, every easement, every contract. Sunset Ridge Retreat wasn't the HOA's crown jewel. It was Whitaker Luxury Holdings, LLC, Helen's sole owner. 47 rooms at $280 to $450 a night, 70% occupancy, 60 grand a month funneled through the association to dodge hotel occupancy tax, commercial zoning, fire code upgrades. Residents' 8 grand dues weren't for landscaping. They were subsidies for Helen's profit margin. I was a loose thread she meant to snip. I spent 2 solid days building a war binder, certified deed, 2016 survey with valve coordinates circled in red, 1998 utility contract ending at the county meter, Highlighted sections of Texas Property Code, Water Code, Deceptive Trade Practices Act. David Lawson read the draft notice of intent and exhaled like a man watching a storm roll in. Send it certified to the board, to me, and to Sheriff Harlan. Give them 72 hours. Then lock it down. I mailed them at dawn. Then I hit the hardware store. 1 hardened steel padlock rated for freight containers, 1 trail camera with infrared, 1 aluminum sign. Private property, trespassers prosecuted. I was done asking. 72 hours later, Monday, 5:57 a.m., the sky still bruised purple. Frank met me at the vault, toolbox clanking. I started the phone video, voice steady. Robert Caldwell, 4925, Ridgeview Lane, Travis County, GPS 30.4128 North, 97.8471 West. Exercising lawful control of infrastructure on my deeded parcel. The wheel fought 30 years of corrosion. Frank spritzed penetrant. I leaned my weight. Metal screamed, gave, turned. 2 minutes later the flow died with a hollow thunk. I snapped the padlock, angled the camera, drove the sign into caliche hard as concrete. Frank wiped his hands on a rag. Helen's gonna lose her religion. I managed half a smile. She started the sermon. 9 o'clock brought the first frantic voicemail. Rob, it's Margaret 2 lots over. Nothing's coming out. Toilets won't flush. What the hell? 10 o'clock, a businessman from Suite 312, voice shaking with rage, threatening Yelp 1 stars. 11 o'clock, the retreat's general manager begging, then threatening, then begging again. I let the machine take every call. Across the valley the retreat unraveled in real time. Guests emerged from marble showers dripping soap, pounding on locked bathroom doors. 1 elderly widow from Ohio stood in the lobby in a towel, mascara streaking, demanding to speak to the owner. The espresso machine hissed steam and died. By noon the lobby restrooms were biohazards. The smell drifted on the breeze like a warning. Sprinklers on the back 9 clicked on timer, spun, spat air. Bermuda grass that cost 10 grand a month to pamper began to crisp. The pool filtration pump seized, water clouded to pea soup, algae blooming green. Helen rang at 12:07, speakerphone crackling with lobby chaos behind her. Caldwell, you open that valve right now or I swear I'll have you in handcuffs by sundown. I waited for a child's wail to fade. Mrs. Whitaker, you received certified notice 72 hours ago. I'm happy to negotiate access through counsel. Until then, the valve stays closed. She screamed something about terrorism. I ended the call. Sheriff Tom Harlan rolled up at 1:30, cruiser lights off, Stetson in hand. I poured him iced tea from the last jug of store-bought water and spread the binder like a poker hand. He read slow, flipping pages, nodding at the survey coordinates. Civil, not criminal, he said finally. Can't arrest a man for locking his own gate. But Rob, you've got 18 families fixing to tar and feather somebody. Cooler heads, sooner the better. That night the HOA crammed 43 sweating souls into the retreat's chandeliered conference room. Ceiling fans spun uselessly. The air smelled of panic and designer perfume. Helen stood at the podium in a linen suit now clinging dark under the arms, voice shrill. 1 rogue owner is holding us hostage. Tom Granger, 47, accountant, board treasurer, perpetual wallflower, rose from the back row. He looked like he'd slept in his clothes for a week. No, Helen. We're the ones who cut an innocent man's water. I've got the ledgers. He slapped the 2-inch binder on the table. Pages fanned. 4 years of double books, $2.8 million in unreported room revenue, $215,000 in tax liability, penalties, interest. You've been running an unlicensed hotel on the homeowner's dime. The room detonated. A retired colonel lunged across the table. 2 women shrieked about college funds siphoned into Helen's pocket. Someone threw a water bottle. It burst against the wall like a gunshot. Helen's face went the color of the yellow notices she loved. She bolted for the side exit, heels clacking, purse swinging like a mace. The double doors slammed behind her. By midnight, 3 board members tendered resignations via group text. By sunrise, Helen's email announced her own retreat, due to irreconcilable differences. Translation: she was finished. Tom Granger knocked on my door the next afternoon, eyes bloodshot, folder trembling in his hands. I should have spoken up years ago, he said, voice raw. Forgive me. Inside the folder, complete audit, whistleblower affidavit, proposed settlement. $15,000 for damages and distress. 99-year valve lease at $1 annual. Due / to 222 for verifiable common expenses. Full transparency, independent audit committee, term limits. 2 weeks later Tom was elected president 92%. The check cleared. We met at the vault at dawn, camera rolling again. I unlocked the padlock, gripped the wheel, turned it counterclockwise. A subterranean groan, then the sweet rush of water. 18 homes sighed back to life. The retreat stayed dark, pool drained, fairways the color of straw. County zoning nailed the coffin, permanent cease and desist on commercial lodging. Helen filed Chapter 7. The bank seized the property. 3 guest lawsuits settled out of court for undisclosed sums that still left her broke. Word was she loaded a U-Haul at 3 a.m. and pointed it toward Arizona. 6 months later the old resort is a skeleton of rebar and possibility. 70 affordable apartments rise where cabanas once stood. The golf course is a park with walking trails and a splash pad. My winter kale and collards drink from a new county tap paid for with settlement cash. The HOA posts budgets on a public drive. No single check exceeds $500 without 3 signatures. I still walk the valve monthly. The will turns easy now, oiled and willing. Water flows where justice says it should. Some battles end in courtrooms. Mine ended with a rusted wheel, a locked gate, and neighbors finally asking to see the books. The law didn't roar. It just waited for someone stubborn enough to read the fine print. So tell me in the comments, when they cut your lifeline, do you wait years for a judge, or do you reach for the only lever they forgot was yours? Where's the line between self-defense and vengeance? I read every take. Lay it on me.